There's a pattern that needs to be recognized that every time a society starts to question what a woman is or what a man is or both, that it's already halfway into dying. From Sumer to Rome to Weimar Germany, the same pattern repeats. It's as old as time. This is an ancient pattern. This is nothing new, and it's labeled as progress. First come the temples of fertility. Then come the temples of confusion. First come the families and the strength, and then come the self-worship and the decline. I'm not here to sugarcoat feminism or sugarcoat any type of ideology that seems to be protected by the masses and the media all of the time. I'm here to show you how empowerment and liberation became the empire's last words. Welcome to episode 2 of The Gender Bender Before the Fall. Because history didn't start in the 1960s, and this isn't the first time men stop acting like men and women stop acting like women. Let's talk about how gender confusion isn't progress, it's a pattern, a historical, ancient pattern that goes back to Sodom and Gomorrah. And if you trace it back far enough, you'll see that every time society tries to erase the difference between the sexes and the genders, it actually just starts to erase itself. Its core values are very important, and they erode when this starts to occur. Welcome to Unfeminist, episode 2. Every strong civilization starts with order. There are clear gender roles and gender orders. Every civilization begins that way. That's its foundation. Men protect, build, and lead. Women nurture, create, and sustain. Fertility and family were sacred, and they were held at a higher importance than in today's modern family. So, with every civilization starting with order, it doesn't naturally begin in a chaotic mindset. It doesn't naturally begin in a self-destructive mindset. Men and women had defined complementary roles, not competitive ones. In early Sumer, the world's first civilization, gender wasn't fluid, it was foundational. The foundation of the civilization is clear defined gender roles. The gods were male and female. Kings led armies, women led spiritual order. It was balance, and it was not confusion. And when society honors that balance, it grows. And it grows, and things expand, and people live a more fully satisfactory life. When it blurs, it breaks. Society erodes, culture fails, and inversion happens. The next is what I call the cycle of comfort, and once stability is achieved, people get comfortable, they get lazy, they get entitled, and comfort leads into entitlement, and after entitlement, discipline turns into indulgence. They don't really have a standard anymore for themselves, let alone for others. In Athens, for example, after defeating Persia, men who once fought for virtue began chasing pleasure. Art became erotic, and fashion became effeminate, and philosophy turned into moral relativism. Do what feels good, and whatever makes you happy is what replaced do what is right and just. And the moment the man stops protecting his family and the state starts doing it for him is when the decline begins. So when the man stops his role in the family and the government is doing it for him, that's when decline begins. I'd say the next phase is moral relativism, and the truth dies first. We got to remember that it's what people remember, what people think, is what starts the actual change. So my truth, your truth, is not an absolute truth. There is no your truth or my truth. There is a truth. That sounds so familiar. Greece had that too. Rome had it, and the moment civilization says truth is subjective and not objective, it's over. It's done. If you cannot say 4 plus 4 equals 8, 1 plus 1 equals 2, it's done. You're done. Because when nothing is sacred, everything is for sale. Everything is yes and everything is no at the same time, which it just can't be. The temples crumble, the family weakens, and people start worshiping themselves. That's when the gods of pleasure and confusion take over every single time. Next phase, I would say the gender role erosion, the great inversion. So society will start to invert on itself. This is where things always go off the rails, the great inversion. In Sumer, male priests dressed as priestess, as women, to serve Inanna, a goddess of sex and war. In Egypt, Pharaoh Akhenaten was carved with feminine features, hips, breasts, all of it, during a religious crisis. In Rome, Emperor Nero casted a boy, dressed him as a bride, and called it marriage. This actually happened a lot in the Roman and Ottoman times, when men would dress as females, act as females, dress as females for the entertainment of the elites. And anyway, just a side note, in Weimar Germany, they called it freedom. Cross-dressing cabarets, the first gender surgeries, and the collapse of the family. And in every case, within 1 to 2 generations, the empire fell. The gender line blurs, the moral line disappears, and the civilizational line breaks. So, when all this starts in an empire or a society, it lasts about, now average, 2 to 4 generations. So between 50 to 150 years. It has a historical pattern, time frame, that when that happens, the erosion of the society and the country begin. Next would be the fertility collapse and the family breakdown. Here's what always happens next. And it's not random, and it's not biological, it is spiritual. When men stop being men, and women stop valuing motherhood and the gender role that is God-given, people stop reproducing, period. Resentment happens, men, their sex drive lowers, and as you can see by what's happening in modern society today, most men under 30 aren't dating. The amount of hookup culture that happened in this last generation has just tired everyone out, I think. I think nobody likes each other anymore. In the Athens, population collapsed before Alexander conquered them, and in Rome had to import slaves just to keep the economy alive. Rome had to import slaves to keep the economy alive. That is something I want you to remember, because it's the same tactic that is used by the Democratic Party today. Because the Democratic Party is the party of slavery. They didn't necessarily change. You don't change your foundation as a party and continue to grow. You don't change your mission statement. You change your strategies and you change your branding. Your marketing changes. But your audience and your main goal stays the same. That was a side note. Sidebar. Every Western nation is below replacement level at this moment in time, and they're literally dying out by choice. Mothers are aborting their babies. They are choosing school, a degree that they probably won't even use after they have kids in the future, if they have kids, if they can have kids, if they choose to have kids. And the final sign of collapse isn't violence. It's the silence of empty cradles, empty nurseries, empty daycares, empty schools, empty streets, except remember that Rome had to import slaves to keep the economy alive. And remember the last 4 years, how open our country was. The next phase would be the collapse and the conquest. So once a society loses its sense of manhood, womanhood, and truth, it can't define itself. It can't stand anymore because its foundation has been eroded, it's rusted, it's crumbled, it's no good. Every empire that forgot that fell. Sumer was conquered, Greece was conquered, Rome was invaded, Weimar was replaced by fascism. And today's West is not any different. It's not being invaded by swords, it's collapsing under confusion, it's eating itself alive. The war isn't outside anymore, and it's inside the mind. More importantly, it's inside the media. The media controls the mind. It's the same pattern every time, the arrow of decline. Order, prosperity, decadence, gender confusion, and collapse. From gender role breakdown to full collapse is about 50 to 120 years on average. That's 2 to 4 generations, like I said earlier in the video, which means that if modern West started in the 1960s, we're right on schedule. We are collapsing. Our society is eroding. We don't know what a woman is. We don't know what a man is. We have elected officials. We had elected officials who voluntarily cut off body parts over a feeling that was leading the Department of Health. Now, I guess I don't know if they went with the full bottom surgery. Turns out not many actually do. A lot of them is more taking on the grease role of cross-dressing. And what happened to that term? That's still a thing. It's just called drag now. Cross-dressing is drag. But drag is like flamboyant. I don't know. Okay, so because in America and some parts of the UK, I guess not so much anymore, but in America at least right now, we have access to history. We have access to information, and I wouldn't necessarily look at one source, but I would definitely look at the sources that you are using and recognize that most public textbooks are owned and funded by liberal foundations and families like the Rockefellers. Every collapse makes room for a renewal. After Rome fell, Christianity rose. Catholicism rose. After chaos, clarity returns. But the question is, who will rebuild it this time in modern times? Because it seems like evil is not necessarily backing down, especially after September 10th. I think that kind of woke a lot of people up, but I also think that it encouraged others. It starts with society and the individuals. It starts in the home. So if you're gonna date with intention to marry, have your standards, express them, your boundaries, your standards, and your duties, because you don't just get your entitlements without your duties. So if you want a title, then you need a duty that goes along with the title. So if you want the title of a wife, then you have wifely duties. If you want the title of a mother, then you have motherly duties. If you want title of an HR consultant, then you need to follow the HR consultant guidelines. I mean, whatever your route is in life, whatever makes you feel important, I suppose, but that's kind of your truth and my truth. But the truth is, women have been least fulfilled and least satisfied in any other time in recorded history as of now because of liberation. But that's another side note. I keep taking these sidebars with you guys. So with starting in the home, it starts with families. It starts with recognizing and remembering the truth. It starts with moral courage and, at the minimum, a moral compass of at least condemning things like violence of September 10th. But, you know, I digress. I can't really reach out to people who celebrated that, because I don't think there is reaching something that low in garbage. But you can't fix a notion that's forgotten. So when you forget what a man is, you forget what a woman is, then you need to remind people with action. The fall of empires doesn't just happen overnight, it happens in silence, in schools, in families, and in the soul. Gender confusion is not progress, it is a historical pattern. It is the last stage before collapse. Learn from history or become part of history. The same pattern that has wrecked through empires throughout history. This is Pretty Politics, and the history just repeated itself. I just wanted to take a moment to say that I didn't have any sponsors, I don't have any sponsors, but I do want to promote things that I actually use, tools that I actually use, and products that I actually use. The first thing that I'm going to promote as a mother, especially of young kids, is Listener Kids. It is a channel on YouTube, and it is a brand, it is a Christian brand that teaches toddlers and kids Bible stories and songs, and my kids love it. It is an absolute favorite. We put it on for every road trip, for every time we're going to the car. Every time we're in the car, they want to listen to Listener Kids. So that's something that I would suggest if you are a mother, if you are home with toddlers, if you are homeschooling and you are trying to integrate a little bit of Jesus in your day. That's a great place to start. And that would be my first promotion, unpaid, because I actually use it and enjoy it. So I wanted to share it with people who watch my stuff, all 20 of you. Thank you.